Hey everyone, welcome to Wazesha Wednesday. It's that time again. Just watched the Barcelona Inter game. How cool was that? That was awesome. That was awesome. I was so excited. I said, you know what? I have to come and do this Facebook Live. No, anyway, I'd thought about the Facebook Live earlier, but that was a fantastic game, right? So what are we doing Wazesha Wednesday? Hey everyone, I'm Ichi, Wazesha Wednesday, and today I want to talk about change. So a few days ago, actually, just a week and a half ago, I was very honored, privileged to share the stage with Gina Darrow, your Africa life coach, and we talked about change. And this was at the closing of Vivo. As most of you know, Vivo came to the USA, and Atlanta was the first place they landed. And we've had the most fantastic time having a signature uh, brand in Atlanta that's based out of or made in Kenya brands here in Atlanta. So it's been fantastic. And after just under a year, they are moving from the online retail store to fully the brick and mortar retail store to fully online. So we are very happy for you, Vivo. You've done a fantastic job for us. The community has totally been elevated because of you. So thank you very much. So anyway, so a week and a half ago, Gene and I were honored to attend wine and shop session at Vivo, and we talked about change. So I wanted to extend some of the conversation we had into this Wazesha Wednesday. Obviously, you know, Gene is a fantastic leader, a fantastic guide, a fantastic coach. So there's a lot that you talked about that I just can't do it. So I'll just use my notes to talk about some of the points that I thought were important, and also to remind you all today is April 30th, May 1st is here. So I think this topic is very timely because we talk about change, we talk about what it means, how it impacts us, both positive and negative, and most importantly, how do you navigate change? And I have some key maybe frameworks or tool set that you can use, tools and techniques to use to navigate change. So why is change important and why are we talking about change? Look, change happens every single day, whether you know it or not, whether you intend for it to happen or not, whether it's incidental or incremental or transformational, change is happening all the time. The one thing we can always be guaranteed of is change is inevitable. And that could mean change in your job situation, in your health situation, in your personal situation, in your social situation. Change is inevitable. And part of what we have to do is to figure out, understanding that change can happen anytime and it doesn't happen in isolation. When we are faced with a change, how do we respond in order to reduce the stress level that we are bound to experience as a function of change? So that's what I'll talk about today. So today's objective, just provide tools for all of us to be able to navigate change. I'll give you some strategies. I'll talk about some little insights about what change is. And yeah, I'm excited. Wazesha Wednesday. So let's start by defining change. So change generally refers to becoming different in some way, whether it's in behavior, in attitude, even physical appearance. And whether incidental or intentional change is inevitable and is part of our everyday life. So change just means that something different occurs. And when I asked people, give me examples of change that's going on in your life today, hands came up, like a ton of hands came up. People were talking about job situation. I'm changing jobs. I'm fearful of my job, and that may introduce a change in my life. I'm having a health change, a physical change, and I'm not sure how to manage it. I'm facing a change that I didn't initiate, but someone else initiated. How do I handle that? So, change is inevitable. Why is it important to understand change? Because change disrupts our expectations. Imagine everything is working out okay, you are streamlined, you are in that lane, and then a change happens. That disrupts your expectation of something predictable. In fact, from a neurological and behavioral perspective, it pushes us out of our comfort zone and oftentimes causes anxiety. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable. And for some of us, like me, a control freak, it limits our sense of control. So the greater the disruption to expectations, the more profound the change is. So what does that mean? That's basically telling us that change is a deviation from something that we expect. Change is a deviation from predictability. Most of us, by nature, want to be able to control some things in our life. And when change is introduced, it causes variation in that, and that becomes something uncomfortable and sometimes causes anxiety. There's, again, examples of change, someone who's pivoting, career change. For a lot of us in the US, we're faced with something that a lot of people are really scared of is the jobs, right? The job market seems to be very volatile. There's people losing their jobs. There's people having to change jobs, transition from one role to another, something that was very comfortable for them, but now they have to transition. And truth be told, there's some people who are really scared of what's going to happen to their role. Now, I'm in tech, and in tech, the biggest discussion we're having is AI, artificial intelligence, and the impact it's going to have on us. What does that mean for someone like me, for people who are in tech, and even for people who are not in tech but will be impacted by AI? AI may change the way things are done for someone in their role. AI may result in you having to change your role to support AI initiatives, or AI may just eliminate your role altogether and you'll have to figure something out. So, Caro, thanks for joining. Change is uncomfortable, and I'll tell you why change is uncomfortable. So, career pivot. The other thing is personal change, health issues, relocation, relationship change. All those changes are very uncomfortable. And some of them can be so significant, so significant that they cause a lot of stress and anxiety. And yet it's the constant. Me, I need to learn AI. Yes, Caro. Hit me up. I'll tell you everything about AI. AI is your friend, and I'll give you a tool that will help you figure out how to manage that change with AI. So, Caro, since you're here, tell me or give me an example of a change that you may be going through, have gone through, or foresee that you're going to go through. And when you do that, I'll address it when we talk. But change is inevitable. Either you've gone through change, you're going through change, or there's a change that's going to happen. And worst of it is this: change does not happen in isolation. Meaning, we had someone who said, "Hey, I'm changing jobs. Oh, by the way, I just bought a house," right? Or, "I just lost my job and I'm going through a health issue, a health change." So change doesn't happen in isolation. Just because you can, quote unquote, control the intentionality of change doesn't mean that's the only change that's going to occur at that same time. So change doesn't happen in isolation. All right, now that we sort of are grounded on what change is and some of the types of changes that happen, let's talk about the phases of change. So, William Bridges talks about the change transitions, and he says transitional is the emotional process that we go through as change unfolds. So he's saying it's not 0 to 1, it's not a binary thing, it's actually a phase. And the first phase is letting go of what was. So a change happens, and oftentimes we're stuck in the past and we're trying to figure out, no, I want to be back in the past. You have to let go of what was. And then you have the neutral zone, which is the in between, the uncertainty, the discomfort that happens. And then the third one is new beginnings, where you step on to what's next. So I'll be very transparent with you. Letting go of what was, which is a phase of change, is very difficult for me. I have clothes from like 30 years ago, right? I don't want to let go of those. There's that notion of control that we have. And when we were talking to people at Vivo, there were maybe 20% of people who are very good at letting go, but 80% of people did not want to let go. Change scares them because you have to let go of something. And we talked about whether it's, a function of like society, how we were brought up, the scarcity factor, all these things that stop us from wanting to change. AI is like make believe. Me, I need normal and relatable changes. This internet is wild. Carol, look, it's not going to change. And in fact, the train has left the station, and I'll tell you what you need to do to become more comfortable with AI. So, phases of change: endings, neutral zone, new beginnings. Personally, I like to think about change as three things. Okay, one is recognizing that a change is happening, because a lot of us are not clued in that changes are happening around us or within us. So recognize the change is happening. To reframe what that change means. And so, Caro, this is for you. You have to reframe. AI is coming, AI is here. I have to reframe and say, okay, how can I make that a good thing for me? And how can I adapt to that change really quickly? And then the last thing is reset. Again, it's pushing aside everything that's happened and reset for this new beginning. So those are the three phases that I propose to help with navigating change. So let's talk about each of these. I want you to know this. Let's see, I have it in my notes, so I want to make sure I capture it here. Okay. Do you know why change is uncomfortable? So Kara said change is uncomfortable. Because it disrupts something in your life. Okay, got it. Ichi, move on. Okay. But more importantly, change has a neurological component, which means when a change is happening, it's not you just physically stopping this and starting this new thing or modifying from this to this new thing. Neurologically, your mind starts firing up. There have been a lot of studies where they watch the neurons in your brain as a change is happening and you see them firing. Why? Because it has a neurological component. So during change, the brain immediately focuses on potential risks and negative personal implications. So when a change is happening, oh, I'm sick, your brain starts thinking, holy crap, fight, freeze, flee, what do I need to do to protect myself? Oh, by the way, what's the potential risk of this? Oh, by the way, what are the personal implications of this? I need to, then anxiety steps up. During change, the brain focuses on potential risks and negative personal implications. The brain perceives change as a threat to survival. The brain perceives change as a threat to survival. So think about it. Your brain is doing everything it can. A change is happening, but your brain is like, oh my goodness, something's happening. There's a threat. I need to get back to normal. And it starts fighting and resisting change. So, Carol, when you said change is uncomfortable, maybe for you as a person, you're like, well, I've experienced change before, so why is it uncomfortable? It's your brain fighting. It's me and you talking. No one calls me Carol. Okay, Kafresh. Okay, Safi, Kafresh. All right. The brain perceives change as a threat to survival. So think about it. Your brain is doing everything it can get back to normal and cannot focus on anything else. So this is really normal for a lot of people when there's a lot of change happening, or even if it's a single change, but it's significant enough, your brain gets into this discomfort and you cannot focus. In fact, some studies say stress caused by change reduces the ability to process information by 80%. So when you're not stressed and there's no change happening and you feel like you're in control of everything, you're able to process, let's say at 100%, things are good. A change happens, disruption happens, anxiety sets in, your brain starts fighting, you go down in terms of processing information by 80%. In fact, they say your ability to read goes to a fourth grade level. So maybe you've experienced this. I certainly have experienced this. Change is happening. You're so stressed, you can't understand anything that's coming in. You're trying to read a book, you can't even read, you can't comprehend. Your ability to understand things goes down to a fourth grade level. So it's important to recognize that when change happens, it's not just a physical thing that's happening that you need to be aware of. You also need to be aware of what your brain is trying to do. Your brain is perceiving this change as a threat, as an attack to its system, and it's fighting as much as it can to go back to normal. So it's very important as we think about change to think about the neurological impact of change and to recognize that it exists. So now that we recognize change is happening, how do we reframe it? Since change is neurological, I believe we need a neurological tool to navigate it with confidence, right? So studies in neuroscience demonstrate the brain's remarkable ability to adapt and rewire itself throughout life. That's called neuroplasticity. And what that means is that you can, as much as the brain is resisting all this change, you can trick it. You can trick it to start thinking in a different way so that it calms down. And a couple of ways to do it is cognitive behavioral therapy, which means changing your perspective, your mindset, your thoughts, and then developing more realistic outcomes of that change. That way your brain can calm down. The other thing is what's called acceptance and commitment therapy, which means you accept that the change is going to happen. AI is here. Accept that it's going to happen. Because if you don't accept that it's going to happen, you will keep fighting it. The more you keep fighting it, the more your brain is firing. So two things, and we'll talk through what's a couple of ways, a few ways to take care of those two things. One is cognitive behavior, that's tricking your mind. Second is acceptance and commitment therapy, meaning accepting that the change has happened, that the change is happening or has happened, and committing to do something different. And if you do that, then you are on your way to accepting and navigating change. So that's the reframe. Remember, the first one was recognize. Recognize that change is happening and that your brain is going through all these things. The second is reframe, which means tricking your mind. And one of the things that I use, and Kafresh, I'm going to suggest to you, and if you've been here on Wezesha Wednesday, you've heard me talk about this, is F.U.M.B.L.E. The way I reframe every single time a change is introduced. And, let me be honest and transparent as I talk about change. I experience change a lot, as in my job, almost every time there's something new coming. There's a new technology out there that I'm one of the people who's responsible for testing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Where am I going to start? Oh my God, this has disrupted me because I was done with that first project. Everything was good, but suddenly a new thing has come. So what are you going to do? So yes, Kafresh, F.U.M.B.L.E. And F.U.M.B.L.E. is just sort of like, what are those things called? An acronym? Is an acronym for something. And even more than that, I want you to think about fumble. We always see when someone fumbles a ball, fumbles something, we see it as bad. We have a negative connotation to it because someone messed up. In my mind, someone messing up is an opportunity to improve and to see the opportunities to make things better, the opportunities to be better. So I'm using fumble both literally and figuratively. Figuratively, it's okay to fumble. It's okay to make a mistake. Literally, F.U.M.B.L.E. is an acronym. And the F in F.U.M.B.L.E. means face fear. Remember, this is a neurological thing. Your mind and body will either freeze, fight, fly, flee, whenever there's something new that's coming up, whenever there's a change. So I want you to understand this. And please, if you don't hear anything, just listen to F.U.M.B.L.E. You have to face your fear. I'm not a fan of people who say, don't be afraid. Fear is evolutionary. That's why we've made it this far. That's why we've survived this far. Because we need to be fearful. Because that's how we run away from snakes, mites, rats, whatever those things, dogs, umbwakali, all those things. Because of fear, we run away from those things and therefore we survive. So it's okay to feel fear. It's okay to be scared. I'm playing soccer tonight, futa tonight, and every time I go to play futa, I'm scared. I have all this fear, this anxiety comes over me, and that's okay. So the F in fumble is face fear. And there's a number of ways to face fear, but two things I'll mention for you, Kafresh, and for everyone else listening. One is learning. Learn this thing, whatever it is that you're changing to. You're changing your job, you have a significant life event, you're going through a health scare, your physical body is changing. Learn about it, because the more you learn about it, the more you're able to face that fear. The second thing is exposure therapy. Expose yourself in small doses to that change that you're going to go through. So in this case, Kafresh, you're scared of AI. The first thing you do is learn as much as you can about artificial intelligence. Number two, expose yourself to AI. Go to Gemini and say, go to the Lilka prompt and say, you know, how do I manage change? Enter. And it's going to spit out all these things about managing change. Then you'll say, oh, okay, that was cool. Now let me try something more explicit. Let me say, hey, Gemini, look at this spreadsheet and tell me what insights you gain from it. Boom, it does it for you. Then you're like, okay, this AI thing, now we're friends. And then you go to something else. So exposure therapy and learning are two key ways to face your fear. The U in fumble is getting unstuck. When you're experiencing change, it's like you're stuck. You're stuck with navigating change. My buddy Adam Grant says progress rarely happens in a straight line. And so sometimes as you're experiencing change and you're trying to navigate what that could be, you get stuck. You keep hitting your head against a brick wall. One of the techniques to navigate that is to just take a step back, do something completely different. Like you're trying to understand this AI, your job has been changed. Now you're the AI guru and you have to figure out what that means. And you start reading all this AI stuff and you're doing it. At some point, you just need to stop, do something else. Go do yoga, get refreshed, come back, and you'll get unstuck. If you're reading all this AI stuff, stop reading, go watch a video about AI, go talk to someone who can tell you about AI. Find different ways to understand what it is that you're trying to do. I like this analogy that Adam Grant says. He says, sometimes when you're driving to a destination, it's okay to veer off, go put gas, eat something at the convenience store, and then get back on track and continue your journey. Or if you're going through that Highway 101, why don't you come out and take the scenic route, right? The end goal is the same, but sometimes we get stuck because we think this is the only way to move forward. So when we're talking about change and navigating change, getting unstuck, trying a different way to get to the end, and sometimes just stopping everything you're doing altogether, do something else, get a win on that something else, and then get back on track. The M in fumble is the most important, and it goes back to cognitive behavioral therapy. Manage your mindset. Mindset is the most powerful weapon you have. Sometimes you have doubt. You feel that you're losing control because you're changing. You feel like you shouldn't change because you think, I was born like this. This is who I am. I should be acting this way. Manage your mindset. You have to reinterpret stress, not as evidence of inadequacy or your lack of control or failure, but as evidence of how much you care about something. So managing mindset is about developing a growth mindset and tricking your mind, tricking your brain, telling your brain, hey, this is nothing. Change, I'll get through it. I will figure it out. I have friends. I have people who can take care of me. I have people who can help me through this. I have a coach. I have a teacher. I have Wezesha Wednesday. Whatever it is, trick your mindset so you can manage it and get through that change. The B is you have to be bold. You have to champion your conviction. A change has happened. You have to step in, be bold, embrace experimentation. I'm going to try this. Change has happened. I have a new job. I have a new project. Crap. Who do I talk to? I'm going to call so and say, hey, I heard you on my project team. What can I do? I need help with this. Be vulnerable. Ask questions. I don't know how to do this. Being bold, Brene Brown says, being bold is probably the most important thing, especially when your career is concerned, is being vulnerable, being transparent, being able to raise your hand, being able to embrace experimentation, use failure as a stepping stone, reframe your failure as an opportunity for growth, reframe the change as an opportunity for growth. So I've lost my job. Okay, good. I have to face the fear, right? I have to get unstuck, figure out what I'm going to do. I have to manage my mindset. I have to be bold. I have to raise my hand. My LinkedIn profile has to change. I need to start making calls, cold calls, talking to people I don't know. I have to be bold. The L in F.U.M.B.L.E is leadership, self-leadership. Refers to the ability to manage your thoughts, your emotions, and behaviors. When navigating change, you have to lead you. You have to be the leader of you. You have to figure out, how can I be a leader of this change? I think for me, one of my strongest attributes in terms of leadership is optimism. Glass is always half full, and that's always helped me. I When I do all these tests, about personality tests, they say, oh, empathetic, connectedness, whatever. Figure out what your strengths are as a leader and use leadership to drive you through that change. You are the leader of you when navigating change. And E, at the end of the day, you have to execute on the change. The change has happened. It's inevitable. So you have to execute on this new path that you're on. And execution is not just about, okay, I've accepted a change has happened. It's about embracing, being strategic, adapting, and then executing on that new thing, right? So if we talk about a job change, you faced your fear, you're learning, you're managing your mindset, you're being bold, you're the leader of you. Change, I'm going to do this new job 100%. I'm going to give 100%. And the thing that's most difficult for me, I'm not going to look back at what was. I'm going to let go of what was and focus on this new thing and execute. So that's how I manage change, is using those tricks. I face my fear, I get unstuck, I manage my mindset, I'm bold in my approach, I focus on leadership, self-leadership, and I execute. Obviously, I don't do those things alone. I learn by reading through books, by engaging with people like you, so that I can fumble through this change and come out better for it. So when you reframe change in terms of something that you can adapt and evolve through, you're good. Talked about recognize, talked about reframe. Third thing is we have to reset. Going back to what William Bridges said about new beginnings. Remember, he talked about let go of what was. You're in this in-between phase, and then the new beginnings. Step into what's next. The reality of change is that change will happen. We cannot continue to bring closer to change by not letting go of what was. But we can bring closer to change through new beginnings and stepping into what's next. Kafresh, AI is here. It's here. It's not, in fact, I've been in tech for 30 years. So I've seen a lot of change from, back in the day, I was here from the typewriter when we used to write memos and do that ching ching so that we can remove the paper. Then we put white out, and then we bring it back to when that became a little eraser, and it erased that letter, that incorrect letter. I was the one who was timing. Oh man, where can I put that paper back so that I can type in a straight line? So I've been through that, to evolving the typewriter to the computer, and all the way to, speech being the way that you engage with a computer, right? So all those changes have happened over the last 30 years, and I can tell you this change over the last 2 years has probably been the most transformational change that's going to happen in tech, and it's going to impact our lives both primarily positively, but obviously there'll be some negative impacts. So what am I saying, Kafresh? AI is here. So step into what's next. The reality is change will happen. We can continue to bring closure to change through new beginnings and stepping into what's next. So I'll leave you with this quote from Scott Page. I think this is sort of a signature thing that you should think about. We control nothing. Okay? We think we control a lot, but we control nothing in terms of what's going on around us. But we influence everything. So I know when I said we control nothing, you're like, well, I control this and I control this and I control my kids, blah, blah, blah. You don't control them, you influence them. And that's our superpower. How can we be influential as we navigate through change? So that's what I'm going to leave you with. Wazesha Wednesday was all about change. Tomorrow is May 1st. Let this be an intentional day of change for you. All of us who started January 1st saying this is what we're going to do, and now it's May 1st and we haven't done it, or we haven't done it the way we wanted to, let us do this. Let us be intentional about that change. Let's recognize what the change is going to do to our brains. Let's reframe so that our brain is comfortable with the change that's happening, and let's reset and go on to new beginnings. Wazesha Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you all, and can't wait to hear about what changes are happening in your life. Kafresh, thank you for joining me during this 30-minute session, and we'll see you in the metaverse as we use AI. Cheers.